ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री बलराम रस यात्रा की जय। श्री कृष्ण वसंत रस की जय। श्री वंशीदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री श्यामानंद पंडित की जय। सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev, Text 25. Suta Uvacha Yudhishthirastadakarnya Shayanam Sharapanjare Aprichhad Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Chanusrinvatam. Suta Uvacha Yudhishthirastad Akarnya Shayanam Sharapanjare Aprichhad Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Chanusrinvatam. Suta Uvacha Yudhishthirastad Akarnya Shayanam Sharapanjare Aprichhad Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Chanusrinvatam. This chant.
Hare Krishna. Suta Vacha Yudhishthirastada Akarnya Sayanam Sarapanjare Aprichad Vividhan Dharman Nishanam Chanusrinvatam. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else would like to recite?
Hare Krishna. Sut uvacha Yudhishthira akarnya sayanam sarapanjare aprachat vividhana dharman rishinamacha anushruvatam. Hare Krishna.
Sutta Uvacha Yudhishthirastadakarnya Sayanam Sarapanjare Aprichchad Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Janusrinvatam.
Sutta Vacha
Yudhishthira Shayanam Panjare Aprachad Vividhan Dharman Rishinam Chanushinvatam.
Okay.
Mataji.
Yeah, we can go for the word-to-word translation. Suta Uvacha, Sri Suta Goswami said, Yudhishthiraha, King Yudhishthir, Tat, that, Akarnya, hearing, Shayanam, lying down, Sharapanjare, on the bed of arrows, Aprichat, asked, Vividhan, multifarious, Dharman, duties, Rishinam, of the rishis, Cha, and Anushrinvatam, hearing after. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Suta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishma Dev speak in that appealing tone, asked him, in the presence of all the great rishis, about the essential principles of various religious duties. I'll read the translation again. Suta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishma Dev speak in that appealing tone, asked him, in the presence of all the great rishis, about the essential principles of various religious duties. Purport. Bhishma Dev, speaking in that appealing tone, convinced Maharaj Yudhishthir that he was very soon passing away. And Maharaj Yudhishthir was inspired by Lord Sri Krishna to ask him of the principles of religion. Lord Sri Krishna inspired Maharaj Yudhishthir to ask Bhishma Dev in the presence of many great sages, indicating thereby that the Lord's devotee like Bhishma Dev, although apparently living as a worldly man, is far superior to many great sages, even Vyasdev. Another point is that Bhishma Dev at that time was not only living on a deathbed of arrows, but was greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time. But Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment. And thus, in any circumstances, a devotee of the Lord is in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. Yudhishthir also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhishma Dev rather than ask anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhishma Dev. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier, Lord Sri Krishna, who establishes the glories of his devotee. The father likes to see the son become more famous than himself. The Lord declares very emphatically that worship of his devotee is more valuable than the worship of the Lord himself. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining today. So we will continue from yesterday's reading. So yesterday we saw that Bhishma Dev is desiring and is praying to the Lord. That's his desire. He's expressing, he's actually speaking to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So up until now, yesterday was the last verse of Bhishma Dev trying to pacify Yudhishthir Maharaj, telling him that whatever is happening or whatever has happened so far, it is all happening by the plan of the Supreme Lord. We are all different instruments in that plan. So we should play our part. And your part is you should be the emperor. That is the Lord's plan for this whole world. So you should just accept, as a service to the Lord, you should continue your service. You should accept the rulership of this earth planet. And finally, of course, Bhishma Dev also said about the position of Krishna as the Supreme Lord. And then he expressed his desire, may this Lord be present in front of my eyes when I'm quitting this body. So now Yudhishthir Maharaj is convinced. By hearing Bhishma Dev's words, Yudhishthir Maharaj became convinced that yes, I must accept the duty of the emperor. This is the Lord's plan. I am the Lord's servant, and my duty is to carry out the Lord's order. So he is now ready to take up the service. And the last statement that Bhishma Dev made is that may the Lord be in front of my eyes, the beautiful Lord with his smiling face, his reddish eyes like the morning sun, his lotus face. Let me just have this vision in my consciousness when I'm giving up this body. So Yudhishthir Maharaj got a hint here. Oh, Bhishma Dev, grandfather Bhishma is going to give up his body soon. So what is Yudhishthir Maharaj doing? I must ask him the questions. So Srila Prabhupada brings out some important points in the purport. Yudhishthir Maharaj at this point, so Bhishma Dev is just about to give up his body, and Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking some questions. So what is he asking? What is Yudhishthir Maharaj wanting to ask? Yes, now I will take up the responsibility of a king, but the duty of the king is to ensure that all the citizens are properly engaged. They are carrying out their respective duties according to the scriptural prescriptions. This is the essential duty of the leader, of the king, to ensure that everyone is properly engaged in his particular dharma, duty. For what purpose? By following that dharma, he will actually make spiritual progress towards his eternal goal, which is once again reconnecting with the Supreme Lord. So Yudhishthir Maharaj wants to hear from Bhishma Dev how to carry out this service. He wants to understand what are the duties of the different groups, different varnas, different sections of the society. What is the duty of a Brahmana? What is the duty of a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas? What are the duties of women? What are the duties of a king? He wants to understand all this from Bhishma Dev, from the scriptures, coming through Bhishma Dev. So, you would not expect that when someone is about to die, and also another point that is being made is how did Yudhishthir Maharaj think about asking these questions? It was Krishna who was inspiring him to ask Bhishma Dev at this point. From within the heart, Krishna is inspiring Yudhishthir Maharaj. Ask him the questions now to explain in detail. Imagine. And it's a long section. He's actually going through the whole, Bhishma Dev will explain all the duties of the different classes, different groups, quoting the scriptures. If somebody is just about to give up his body, what would, those who are into hospice care, when you come to the terminal point, the final point, when they're about to give up their body, how would you treat such a person? Would you try to calm that person down, pacify that person down, and help that person to focus on the Supreme? Or will you try to engage him in some conversation and ask him to answer some questions in detail? Therefore, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that it's not expected, right? One should not have asked him any question at that time. Ordinarily, one should not have asked Bhishma Dev any questions at that time. You should have just let him be to meditate, right? On that final point of giving up his body. But Krishna is inspiring Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask him the question. So what is Krishna's purpose in inspiring Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask questions? What is Krishna's purpose? There's a few different lessons that Krishna wants to give all of us through this incident. First point. Bhishma Dev, you remember, Bhishma Dev is surrounded by so many exalted sages and rishis from all over the universe. In fact, Sukadev Goswami listed the names of all the prominent. He said there are thousands of sages who came, but he took the names of the prominent sages that had come there. Who are they? There's Parvat Muni, Narad Muni, Dhaumya, Vyasdev, Brihadashva, Bharadwaj, Parashuram, along with all their disciples, Vashishta Muni, right? Sukadev Goswami. All these great personalities, acharyas have come. And in the presence of all these sages, Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Bhishma Dev to answer his questions about the religious duties for people of different varnas and ashrams. Why Why Krishna didn't inspire Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask Vyasdev? He is the author of the Vedas. He is the one who gave all that information in the first place. There is Narad Muni who received it directly from Vyasdev, and he is the son of Lord Brahma. Why Krishna is inspiring Yudhishthir Maharaj to ask only Bhishma Dev? And who is Bhishma Dev in comparison to all these great personalities who are situated in the mode of goodness? They're they have performed severe tapasya and austerity, and they're very learned. Bhishma Dev is a warrior. He's a family man. He's a grihastha. He's a kshatriya. It's a different thing that he didn't get married and he didn't have children and he's not the king. That's as a result of the vow that he had taken. But he was living in a royal family situation, very much involved with government affairs, fighting battles, expanding kingdoms, maintaining the kingdoms, protecting the citizens. Why ask a person who is seemingly, who has lived all his life absorbed in worldly affairs, as opposed to ask all these renounced personalities who are very learned? Krishna is teaching a lesson here. What is the most crucial point to be considered when we are approaching a guru? Guru is the person we approach, isn't it? To ask questions. When we have some doubts, we approach a guru, a spiritual master. What is the qualification that you're looking for in the guru? Is his varna and ashram the most crucial thing that matters in choosing who is the perfect guru? No. Then what is most crucial? The person's attachment to Krishna. One who is most attached to Krishna, he is the person who should be approached first to get answers to questions that Yudhishthir Maharaj is interested in asking. So this is the first lesson that Krishna is teaching us. Who should we approach first? In an assembly, approach that person who has the strongest attachment to Krishna. First lesson. Second lesson. What is the circumstance? What is Bhishma Dev's condition at that time? We already discussed this in yesterday's class. How he was going through such intense pain. His body was wrecked and it was fit to be given up. He was going through intense misery and suffering in terms of his body. What to speak of having a clear mind? One cannot even maintain his life under those circumstances. Yet, what is Bhishma Dev's condition? His mind, his intelligence was completely clear. His intelligence, his consciousness was separated from his physical condition. In other words, his material condition did not touch his clarity of mind, his spiritual consciousness, his Krishna consciousness. To show to the world what is the position of a devotee who is completely surrendered to Krishna, who's completely dependent on Krishna. What is the consciousness of such a person? How he is completely unaffected by the worst imaginable material conditions. To show that, Krishna is inspiring Yudhishthira Maharaj to speak, and we will see Bhishma Dev answers all the questions in great detail. That means his mind is completely clear. He's able to quote from various scriptures and answer all the questions in detail, give instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So, this is even seen in the case of Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada was giving up, ending his pastimes in this world, manifested pastimes in his physical body, even until the last days. So I heard this lecture from His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj. So these are his words. Maharaj said that those who were there at that time seeing Srila Prabhupada were amazed to see the parallels between Srila Prabhupada's leaving his body and Bhishma Dev's leaving his body. The clarity of mind, the clarity of consciousness. It was as if Srila Prabhupada could stay or leave the body at his will. We read in yesterday's verse in the purport. It's not that he was being forced by the material nature to give up his body. It was as if he was free to do what he wanted, whether he wanted to stay or whether he wanted to leave. And he was still giving purports, translating Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th chapter. If you read the purports, you will see the clarity, quoting scriptures, explaining details. When his voice was hardly audible, he was recording in the dictaphone, he was speaking. So physically, his body was not in a situation where he could do anything. But his Krishna consciousness was completely, unaffected. So this is the glory of a devotee. His clarity of mind is not by the strength, or it's not a mechanical thing, like the yogis do by controlling the life airs, and they try to control the mind and then fix the mind on one object. This is done mechanically on the strength of my power. But a devotee's clarity of consciousness, of his mind, of his intelligence, is because of his devotion, because of his absorption in Krishna, because of his dependence on Krishna. Krishna is speaking through that body of Srila Prabhupada. Same we can say here in the case of Bhishma Dev. Krishna is speaking through Bhishma Dev, the instructions which he wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj to hear. So this is the second point that's being made. That what is the consciousness of a devotee? How he is unaffected by the material conditions, even at the point of death, which is the final exam, which is the most difficult test that we all have to pass. And we worry, will I be able to remember Krishna at that time? So actually, how nicely we have practiced Krishna consciousness in our life will be tested at the time of death. If we practice Krishna consciousness sincerely, every day, every moment of our lives, that will reflect at the time of death in the form of our consciousness being unaffected by the material conditions, whatever it may be. It can be an accident, or it can be cancer, or it can be anything else, or just a natural death. Whatever it may be, our Krishna consciousness will be fixed. And that is a proof of how the person has lived in Krishna consciousness through his life. And the third point is about the personality of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthir Maharaj, after he got convinced that he should accept the role of the emperor, he didn't say, "Oh, thank you, Bhishma Dev, for convincing me. I'm grateful to you. Now I'm ready." And by the way, who's Yudhishthir Maharaj? He's called Dharmaraj. You remember that story in Mahabharata where all the Pandavas were, after when they were exiled, they were in the forest, and once they were all thirsty and they went to drink water from a lake. So actually, one of them went to get water first, right? Yudhishthir Maharaj and others were sitting under a tree, and Yudhishthir Maharaj sent Sahadev went to collect some water, and he drank, and there was a yaksha who said that you have to answer my questions. This lake belongs to me. If you don't answer my questions and if you try to drink the water, you will die. Sahadev didn't care, and he just drank the water. And then one by one, all the remaining 4 brothers went, and nobody cared for the yaksha's questions, and they just drank the water, and they all seemingly dropped down dead. Then finally Yudhishthir Maharaj came, and when he heard the same voice, he saw his brothers there laying on the ground, and he heard this yaksha's voice, and he said, "All right, ask me the questions." And in Mahabharata, you will see the questions asked by yaksha based on dharma, based on scripture. He answered all the questions to the full satisfaction of the yaksha, and the yaksha revealed himself as Yamaraj, Dharmaraj. And then he brought the brothers back to life. So the point is Yudhishthir Maharaj unaware of all these principles of dharma that he's asking Bhishma Dev? Every act in his life, whatever steps he took, even in the gambling match, nothing was against dharma. He weighed the situation thoroughly based on the religious principles, and then he acted. So does he really need to ask Bhishma Dev about what are the duties of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras? Why is he asking Bhishma Dev at this time? He should have just left and started, all right, so based on what I know, I will start ruling. There's a very important principle here, a Vaishnava principle. Whenever we get a service, whenever we are given a service, Yudhishthir Maharaj is, by his example, is showing this principle of submitting ourselves in front of a superior, seeking their guidance, seeking their blessings, which will actually protect us and empower us to carry out that service properly. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was inspired by Krishna himself to set this example. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Bhishma Dev by your instructions, now I'm convinced to take up this service, and I have this duty in front of me to make sure that all the citizens are engaged properly, right? Guru na sasyad, janani na sasyad. So you cannot be a guru, you cannot be a mother, father, or a king if you cannot deliver your dependents from this material existence. So it is a king's responsibility to ensure that all the citizens are actually delivered from this material entanglement. So will you please instruct me about what the duties are and how I should carry out this service as an emperor? Please protect me through your instructions. So this is a very, very important principle. We see even in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami establishes, quoting from so many Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranas, Tantras. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna. And he also proves who is Krishna. Original, Govindam Adi Purusham. Original, Swayam Rupa Bhagavan. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, does he need anyone's permission to do something? Does he need anyone's blessings to do something? Yet we see at every step, and is he going to do something wrong that he has to get an okay from his superiors that yes, what you're doing is okay, it's correct, it's not wrong. He's the absolute truth. How can he do something which is false? Still, he's setting this example. Before taking sannyas, Mahaprabhu went and took permission, asked each of his associates. He went to Nityananda Prabhu. He asked each of his associates, please give me permission to go. He begged permission from his mother, Sachi Mata. He had such intense desire to go to Vrindavan. But he took the advice of his associates, even there. He followed their instruction. Only when they said, yes, you go, and under these conditions, then he went. So wherever he went, when he went to Ambika Kalna is the Sasur Badi of Nityananda Prabhu, the Janava Devi's mother's place. So there also, once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the uncle of Gauridas Pandit, is the uncle of Janava Devi. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited there, along with Nityananda Prabhu, they visited, he didn't want to let them go. So he didn't leave until he got the permission of the devotee. He made an arrangement. So he manifested a deity and they went back and forth, right? So Gauridas would hold on to the deities, to Gaurnitai, and he would say, let them go, let the deities go, you stay with me. And then Gaurnitai became like deities, and then the deities started walking away. And he said, no, you wait. And he ran after the moving deities and he said, you stay, let them go. And when they were going, again, he wouldn't. But finally, right, with the permission of the devotee, the Lord left. The point is, the Lord himself is setting this example of taking blessings from a superior, a senior, and taking lessons from them. That actually protects a devotee. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is therefore asking Bhishma Dev in that mode. So these are the three lessons that Krishna is wanting to give all of us through this pastime of Yudhishthir Maharaj questioning Bhishma Dev at the point of his leaving his body. And of course, in the end, Srila Prabhupada says that just like the father wants to see the son become more famous than himself, Krishna takes great pleasure when his devotee is glorified. So here Krishna is glorifying Bhishma Dev, and he's also glorifying Yudhishthir Maharaj, and he's taking great pleasure in that. So Krishna is declaring emphatically, worship of my devotee is more valuable than worshipping me directly. So I will end Srimad Bhagavatam discussion here. I was actually supposed to give a class on Balaram Rasa Yatra. I don't know how much time I have, but maybe I can go, briefly I can explain. So today is the first Purnima after Gaur Purnima, the first full moon day after Gaur Purnima. And this is it's also called Vasanta Purnima. Like we have Sharad Purnima when Krishna performs the Ras Leela on Kartik Purnima, right? So Vasant Purnima also Krishna performs Ras Leela. Therefore, today is also Sri Krishna Vasanta Rasa. Means Vasanta means spring season. Krishna's Ras Leela in spring season. And that is Ras Leela in fall, autumn season. And the significance of this spring season's Ras Leela is Balaram also has his Ras Leela in the spring season. Nevertheless, they are not done together. They are at different places. Balaram's Ras Leela happens in Ramghat, a distance away, further away from where Krishna has his Ras Leela. Of course, we don't read the details of Lord Balaram's Ras Leela. The way we approach in Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, the way our acharyas have approached Lord Balaram is in the mood of a servant of Krishna, or in the mood of a guru who is bringing everyone to Krishna, in the mood of a brother of Krishna, like that. Or Balaram participating in Krishna's Rasa Leela through his pleasure potency as Ananga Manjari, the younger sister of Radharani. So this is how Balaram is glorified, and the details of Balaram are given in the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. We don't discuss so much about Balaram performing Ras Leela. Nevertheless, in Krishna book, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, there is description of Lord Balaram performing Ras Leela. There's a mention of that given. So Lord Balaram and Krishna, as we all know, they left Vrindavan to go to Mathura when Akrura came. And then from Mathura, they moved to Dwaraka. So while living in Dwaraka, Lord Balaram became very anxious to meet with his parents, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai in Vrindavan. So one day he decided to go and see them. He got into a chariot and he went to Vrindavan. Because even the residents of Vrindavan were very anxious to see the Lord. And when Balaram reached there, by that time, some time had passed, some years had passed. Now they were all grown up. The cowherd boys and the girls, they were all grown up. And even Krishna Balaram, we hear that when they left, they were boys. They were like, some places we hear 11 years, some places we hear 12 years. They were when they went to Mathura. Now they were grown up they had their wives, they had their children in Dwarka. So obviously the friends, the cowherd boys and the gopis, they were also all grown up. Nevertheless, when they saw Balaram come, they all went and embraced Balaram. Balaram also embraced them. And when he came to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, he offered his obeisances to them. And they blessed Balaramji like parents. And while blessing Balaramji, they said, "Oh Jagadishwara." So it's kind of ironical here. On one hand, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are saying, "You are Jagadishwar." Jagadishwar means you are the lords of the universe. So it's as if they are saying in a sarcastic way, out of a little bit of anger. We hear that you are the lords of the universe, yet you're not able to protect your elderly father and mother. They are suffering so much because of your absence, like that. How is that? So this anger is not like material anger that we see in this world. So we know the process of bhakti up to prema, but within prema there are higher levels which are only experienced by the residents of Vrindavan. So after prema there is sneha, then there is mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava and mahabhava, levels of love of Godhead. So all this is beyond simple love of Godhead, which is the highest that anyone can aspire for in a material body. So in that, mana is a stage where you're actually experiencing some anger towards the Lord. And the Lord relishes it. He relishes it. So that's why they were saying Jagadishwar. And at the same time, they're blessing. So if they are calling him Jagadishwar, why they're blessing him? Because there is two things. There is rasa and there is tattva. Tattva means the Lord's position. His position is, he is Jagannath. He is the Lord of the universe. He is Jagadishwar. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But at the same time, according to rasa, he is the son and they are the parents. There is Vatsalya rasa, affection as parents. By that they are blessing Balaramji. And then they took him on their laps and they drenched him with the tears of their love. And all the other cowherd men, young, old, everyone came. And Lord Balaram reciprocated with each one. He accepted the respects and obeisances of the younger ones, and he bowed down to the older members. He embraced with those who were equal in friendship and age. He laughed loudly with them, like that. Then everyone sat down. And Nanda and Yashoda Maharaj began to speak to Balaramji and said, "How is everyone doing there in Dwaraka? How is Vasudev and Devaki? We hear that Kamsa is killed. It's very good. He was troubling them so much. Also Jarasandha and Kalyavan are killed. This is very good." Like that. Now, when you left your boys, now you are grown up. You have your own children and you have your own families. When you're absorbed in your household affairs, when you're so busy in your household affairs, do you ever think about us, your old parents here in Vrindavan, like that? Then all the gopis came. Krishna's gopis came and they all sat down. And they also, Balaramji started talking to all the residents and he said how things were going on with them in their lives. And they also started asking Balaramji questions. They were asking about Krishna. Does Krishna ever think of his father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda? about his friends with whom he was so intimate when he was here. Like that. And while they were speaking, they said, well, now because he is in city, they were so attached to Krishna that they were never, their only desire was, they were so attracted by the lotus eyes of Krishna. Their only desire was to love Krishna. That's all. All the residents of Braja, their only desire was to love Krishna. They didn't want to go to heavenly planets. They didn't want to merge with into Brahman, or even they didn't even want any opulent life in this world. They were satisfied with their simple lives as villagers. But they just wanted to love Krishna. This was their only desire. So they were asking about Krishna. And they said that we have sacrificed everything for Krishna's sake. It's very difficult to sacrifice one's family. Even in the most trying circumstances, it's not easy to give up that family attachment. But we gopis, we gave up our attachment to our families, our husbands, our fathers, mothers, children, brothers, sisters, for the sake of Krishna. Yet, Krishna, not understanding this, he just renounced us so easily. He left us and he went away. He said, I'm coming back. I'll come back. And he left. We are here because he said he'll come back. We are still collecting flowers every day, making garlands, hoping that Krishna will come and he'll put on this garland. And when he doesn't come, we just cry. Does he ever think about us in Dwarka? And another gopi said, oh, Krishna was able to cheat us because we are simple village people. We are not so intelligent. But the ladies of Dwarka, they are very sophisticated and they are very, smart. They won't be cheated by the words of Krishna. And another gopi said, however advanced and sophisticated a person may be, but Krishna's smile is so enchanting. And his words are so sweet that any woman will fall for him. When she hears him speak and when she sees him smile, any lady will fall for him. And then another gopi says, if he is living there without thinking about us, if he doesn't care for us, why should we talk about him? Let's also, if you really feel the need to talk something, let's come together and have a chat. Let's talk about some other topic. We won't talk about Krishna. But they could not do that. While they were talking like this about Krishna, there was intense ecstasy in their hearts because of experiencing Krishna in that separation. And they all started crying. And Balramji could see this. So there's a nice point here, very nice point that our acharyas tell us. Why Krishna left the gopis who were so attached to Krishna, why he left them and went. You see, when Krishna was in Vrindavan, there's a pastime of Radha and Krishna where Krishna was sitting right next to Srimati Radharani, and there was a bee that was disturbing. So she felt that if this bee goes away, it will be, the bee is disturbing. So then as soon as Madhumangal realized that, he chased the bee away and he said, Madhu is gone forever. He's not going to come back. Madhu is also a name for Krishna. So although she was sitting right next to Krishna, when she heard this, Madhu is gone and he's never going to come back, Srimati Radharani went into such intense separation from Krishna, she started crying. Even Krishna could not console her. He was sitting right next to her. And her tears filled up a pond called Prem Sarovar. And then seeing Radharani, Krishna's tears, how much she is attached to Krishna, that she's right in the presence of Krishna and she's feeling separation. Tears were flowing from his eyes. Together, their tears filled up that pond called Prem Sarovar. So this is the condition of the gopis in Vrindavan, even when Krishna was present. So their consciousness was always, you can say, kind of disturbed by this fear of Krishna's separation. Krishna might leave us. And they were experiencing Krishna only when they were physically present with Krishna. And even in that, there was always fear that he might go away, he might go away. Krishna didn't want that. So therefore, Krishna left. And now what is happening in Krishna's separation? There is intense separation from Krishna. So this is also explained in Brihad Bhagavatamritam. How intense separation is actually causing one to meet Krishna. So you know dry ice. Dry ice is so cold, it is so cold that when you touch it, it burns your hand. There's fire. It is so cold that when you touch it, it burns your hand. It has the opposite effect. Similarly, when there is intense separation, the separation is so intense that in that they're actually experiencing meeting with Krishna. And that's exactly what was happening at this point when the gopis were in front of Balaram talking about Krishna. Because of that separation, they were experiencing Krishna. Now they were experiencing, remembering Krishna talking to them, Krishna smiles, Krishna dancing with them, even Krishna embracing them. They're able to experience all that. Tears are flowing from their eyes. And Balaramji is watching this. So Balaramji is the expert. So he started telling Krishna Katha, different pastimes of Krishna in such a way to pacify the gopis. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam. Right? Tava kathamritam, katha amrita. The nectarian katha of Krishna is the only medicine to cool the tapa. Tapa means what? Heat. What is that heat? So it can either be material existence. In material existence, we are getting roasted. We are getting fried in material miseries. What is the medicine that can cool us down? It is Krishna Katha. Similarly, out of intense separation, when the gopis are being burnt in separation, Krishna Katha cools them down completely. Knowing this, Balaramji with great respect is telling Krishna Katha to the gopis to their full satisfaction, and they were pacified. So Balaramji had come to Vrindavan at this time, springtime, during the months of Chaitra and Vaishakha. So that is, you can say, April and May months. And for those 2 months, now one more thing we have to know. So we say this is Balaram Rasa Yatra. Rasa Yatra means he performed Ras Leela. Every night Lord Balaram performed Ras Leela, but this is not with the gopis of Krishna. This is very clearly given and explained by our acharyas. Even in Chaitanya Bhagavat, the very beginning, first chapter, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur makes it very, very clear. Balaram is not performing rasa dance with Krishna's gopis. That would be a rasa bhasa. With Krishna's gopis, he's very, very respectful. He's trying to pacify them by telling them Krishna Katha. But he had his own gopis. So he performed Ras Leela with his own gopis. Every night he would perform on the banks of Yamuna. It's a different place than where Krishna performed his Ras Leela. It's called Ram Ghat. There he would perform Ras Leela. So there's a nice description given in Krishna book, 65th chapter. Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. So when Balaramji performs his Rasa dance there, a Varuni is sent. Varuni is the daughter of Varuna, and she's a devotee of Lord Balaram. And her love for Lord Balaram is flowing in the form of this nectar, Varuni, from the hollows of the trees. And just like Krishna is tasting the love of Yashoda Mai through her breast milk, similarly, Balaramji is tasting this Varuni, which is nothing but the love of this devotee, Varuni, for Krishna. So when Balaramji drinks, is tasting the love of his devotee, he's in ecstasy. And all his gopis also drink this nectar. And then after performing this, they are wandering in the forest of Vrindavan, and it's Purnima, right? It's moonlit, and there's breezes filled with the aroma of this particular flower called Kaumudi, very, very fragrant on the banks of river Yamuna. So they desired, Lord Balaramji desired to go and have some water pastimes in Yamuna. So he called Yamuna Devi to come. And Yamuna Devi, thinking that Lord Balaram is intoxicated, I won't go now, she didn't go. So Lord Balaram showed his anger. So Lord Balaram has two weapons. He has a plow and a club. So Lord Balaram pulled. It is said, I think he left his, well, we hear different things, but one of them, either plow or club. He starts dragging the river, and angrily he says, because she's his servant. You wretched lady, I'm calling you to come here, you're not coming? Okay, I will show you today that I'm the master. I'm going to tear you into 100 streams. And as soon as she realized her mistake, immediately she came to Lord Balaram and submitted herself. And she said, my Lord, please forgive me. I forgot your position as the Supreme Lord. And then she started glorifying him. And, in your expansion as Anantasesh, you're holding the universe on your hoods as if it's a mustard seed. Please forgive me. So there's also a lesson to be learned here. So even great personalities, sometimes they become illusioned about the position of the Supreme Lord. So even devotees, even though you're a devotee, sometimes we come into illusion. But the nature of the devotee is, as soon as he realizes that he's done something wrong, he'll repent and he'll beg for forgiveness. And the Lord is also so merciful that as soon as the devotee realizes, he's immediately ready to forgive and embrace that devotee. So when Yamunaji did that, the Lord showed anger. And again, when she went and begged for forgiveness, the Lord was very happy. And Lord Balaram went into the waters. They performed water pastimes. And after they took bath, then Goddess of Fortune came there with new blue silk clothing and jewelry, ornaments and everything. And he dressed himself up and he gave the jewels to the gopis like that. So this pastime happened, this particular pastime of dragging the river Yamuna happened today, Balaram Rasa Yatra. Or we talk about it on this day. It is said that throughout the 2 months, Balaramji performed, every night he performed Ras Leela. And even to this day, at that point, you will see that river Yamuna is actually divided into so many streams in honor of this pastime. So that is Balaram Rasa Yatra. And I think I already said about Krishna Vasanta Rasa, Krishna performs Ras Leela. So it is also the appearance day of Radha Kund today. The day when Krishna killed Arishtasur. And after that, the gopis told Krishna that he should actually purify himself for killing a cow, a male cow. He must purify himself. So Krishna created Shyam Kund, and then Radha Kund also was created. We won't discuss the whole pastime, it's already 9 o'clock. So Radha Kund appearance also happens today. And it is also the appearance day of Vamsivadan Thakur, who is an expansion of Krishna's flute. And Vamsivadan Thakur actually served, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he served Sachi Mata and Vishnu Priya. And Vishnu Priya at one point, because of separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she wanted to give up her body. And Vamsivadan Thakur also, in the same mood, who was assisting her, serving her, he also, both of them decided that they'll give up their body. Then the Lord actually appeared to them and stopped them from doing that. And he gave his own deity, which is there to this day, Dhameshwar Gauranga Mahaprabhu, who was worshipped by Vishnu Priya Devi. And then after her, Vamsivadan Thakur worshipped that deity. So that is Vamsivadan Thakur, and today is his appearance day. Today is also the appearance day of Shyamananda Pandit. That's a very long pastime. But Shyamananda Pandit is the guru of Rasikananda. We have the book of Rasikananda, and he's the disciple of Hriday Chaitanya, and he is the student of Jiva Goswami, and he was one of the three, Shyamananda Pandit, Srinivas Acharya, and Narottam Das Thakur. They were the first book distribution party. So they carried all the literatures written by the Goswamis with them. So like that, today is Shyamananda Pandit's appearance day. So I will stop there. It's 9 o'clock. And thank you very much for your attention. If I have missed any details, please forgive me. I just tried to repeat as much as I was able to retain. Hare Krishna. So if there's no discussions, it was mostly a pastime, and we discussed about Bhishma Dev also. If there's no questions or discussions, we will end the class.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have a question. In regards to the gopis of Lord Balaram that you shared, were those gopis also in love with Krishna, or they were just specifically their rasa, was only towards Lord Balaram?
It was only towards Lord Balaram.
Okay.
Krishna's gopis were different.
Okay. So ultimately, they have a relationship with Lord Balaram, and was there any like, were they attracted to Krishna? Not in a way that you would think, just like a devotee gets attracted to Krishna, everybody's attracted to.
Yeah, that can be there. Why not? Yeah. Just like I have my husband, but I have my Guru Maharaj, and I have so many exalted Vaishnavas. I honor them, I respect them, I am attracted to them. They're such wonderful devotees. I appreciate them so much. Nevertheless, I have my husband. I have that relationship only with my husband. You understand? So that type of rasa they have only with Lord Balaram. But yes, of course, Krishna is there. That's why they came there to see Lord Balaram. Of course, they were also there. Yes. So that rasa of relationship, of conjugal relationship, is only with Lord Balaram.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Balaram Rasa Yatra ki jai. Yes, Prabhuji, you want to make any announcements?
So, I think we do not have Dhanacharya Prabhu today, so I do not have any announcement at my side. So we'll end the session here. Thank you so much, Mataji, for wonderful session today. So we'll end the session.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada.